Hey everybody, Dr. Legrand here, and today we are going to be talking about the best ADHD supplements to eliminate your ADHD symptoms. And the best way I can explain this to you is I really like to explain this, and I think it's very effective, is really just give you actual real case studies of what I do when I'm actually working with someone with ADHD and they want to use supplements or just natural ways to help improve and optimizing their brain and dealing with their ADHD symptoms. So I'm going to give you two different case situations with this when it comes to like pretty much polar opposites. And I think that's the best way I can explain this. And so I did my best to find polar opposite case studies with two patients that I did have. So the very first one is a middle-aged woman. And she came into me dealing with a couple things. One, obviously, she was dealing with the common symptoms of focus and attentiveness. But the biggest ones were also she was just feeling very had high anxiety and stress and felt agitated all the time, even with on her medications. And so she was having trouble with this. And then on top of that, she was dealing with low energy and she was not performing very well at her work. And she was worried that she was going to lose her job. She was very disorganized. And she just felt like she also had a lot of social anxiety too. And this was definitely not only impact in her social life, but also with just things at work as well. So those are some of the common things. And I'm not going to go over every single test that we did because there's a lot of testing that we do. But I want to kind of point out some of the big ones to help you kind of really identify what are some of the best supplements that I see time and time again. Even though I will preface that it's always different for each person when we are running these tests. So, very first thing that I want to do is definitely test her neurotransmitters and her amino acids to see, okay, what was out of balance here? What was going on? So, first one you'll see here is her PA levels were low. But for the majority part with her, what was interesting with her case is that she had very high levels on a lot of things. So, her tyramine levels were low. I mean, sorry, elevated. Her dopamine levels were elevated. That's interesting, right? So why would her dopamine levels be elevated? And especially since she was taking a medication that increases her dopamine, this is probably explains a lot why she's feeling agitated and irritated because she had high levels of dopamine. Not only the high levels of dopamine, but also 3-MT, which is a breakdown of dopamine. And then she also had elevated levels of tryptamine, which is a breakdown of tryptophan, also elevated levels of serotonin, which can be signs of irritation and agitation along with dopamine, but also can impact your focus and motivation and drive significantly. And then on top of that, she also had elevated levels of 5-HIAA, which also breakdown of serotonin, and then elevated levels of GABA, which can really impact your mood significantly and have lots of different mood swings and changes there. And then the last thing I want to point out is her taurine levels were actually low, along with her histamine levels being low and also her epinephrine. So epinephrine is really important for managing stress. So this is probably another indicator of why she wasn't able to deal with her stress and why she's having issues with focus and issues. So what did I do here? So the supplements that I will usually typically that are best in this case scenario. So if you're someone that's feeling very agitated, stressed, maybe like this person, like with this case, I added for one, adding DL-phenylalanine because those levels were low. And then on top of that, B complex is really important for compensating a lot of these elevated levels that she was having all right here. But a great one is L-theanine. So L-theanine helps significantly a lot with dopamine, serotonin, and elevated levels of GABA, all three of those. It will help bring those down. Rhodiola is another great one to actually really help a lot with serotonin as well as dopamine when they are elevated. Now, the ones I did forgot to kind of write in here, but it's because she had low levels of taurine. I did supplement taurine in there, and that's an important amino acid for helping building neurotransmitters. So that's why she had very imbalanced neurotransmitters, and so we needed to do that. And then on top of that, she the low histamine, I'll usually add L-histidine. Histamine is actually really important as a driver to actually help modulate and build neurotransmitters. So that is something that we'll also add in there as well, which I did. And so all of those are really important. Now, what about her fatigue situation? You know, this usually can resolve it, but there's probably some more things that we needed to do. So I did run lots of different tests, but the ones I wanted to kind of point out just for this live stream, I'm not going to go over every test that we did, but one is also testing her cortisol levels. This is something that happens so common with adults with ADHD where they reach burnout. And we ran her cortisol levels, and clearly her cortisol levels in the morning and in afternoon and even early evening were all not ideal, definitely more in the lower range. And our cortisol has a lot to do with our energy and also managing stress. So what I do in this situation was use adrenal desiccated and had her take in the morning and mid afternoon to help really bring those levels up. And by just doing these things alone, by adjusting those neurotransmitters and amino acids that were out of balance, as well as her cortisol, that made all the difference for her. Like that was like a night and day. Like she had a significant amount of energy, but also was able to manage her stress significantly. Now, I did want to check her other hormones, and sure enough, there were some things that are out of balance here. One, her DHT levels were elevated, which is a precursor to a lot of things. The reason we will usually see this is because usually digestively, things with probiotics gut flora that we need to adjust. So I did that with her, but we're not going into details of that today. But the other thing I want to point out here was her progesterone levels being low. So she also was dealing with also low libido on top of this, as well as not only dealing with low energy, but a lot of mood swings. And so we added a natural progesterone cream right here to really help with this. And this not only did help with the energy, but also the mood swings, mood changes, and also energy. So, like I said, like implementing these, like just within about within a 3 weeks or so, she had significant amounts of improvement in her energy, her focus. She wasn't feeling stressed all the time, and she got to a point where she realized the medications were not doing that. They were actually kind of doing a disservice to her at that point, and she eventually was able to come off of the medications and was more dependent on actually using foods as her medicine and lifestyle changes, because we got to a point where she didn't have to rely also on the supplements. And that is the beauty about this, is when you can actually identify really what the root cause is, then you really know what are the best supplements specifically for you. But I do see a lot of cases like this. So if you're one of those people, these supplements might be helpful, but to really, really know what is going on, it's best to actually look at some testing to see really what's going on. Now, the flip side, on the opposite, I want to give you two different case scenarios. So with this gal, she was actually, in her upper 20s, and she just finished up college, but she felt more depressed. She couldn't get out of bed. She had no motivation or drive. And so kind of the opposite. She wasn't dealing with much stress. It was just more just depression, and just couldn't focus or be motivated or driven whatsoever. And she had very low energy as well. And so again, we tested her neurotransmitter levels, and you can see it's really quite the opposite from the first case study. And so in her case, she had a lot of low numbers. So her PA levels were low, tyrosine levels were low, tyramine, which is a breakdown of tyrosine, were low, dopamine levels were low, 3-MT levels were low, her serotonin levels were low, 5-HT8 levels were low, GABA were low, glycine were low, all of them. Boom, 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 low. So no wonder she was feeling completely unmotivated, no focus, complete depression, and couldn't figure it out because the medications were also not really working out for her. And she was trying to look for a different solution. And this was a huge, clear picture for me. It's like, all right, obviously, there's a lot of things that are deficient here that we need to address. So in this case, one thing that I do like to recommend when I do see, especially dopamine, tyrosine, all these different levels are low, is something like DopaBoost, because one, it has vitamin B6, which is a very activated form of B vitamin 6, is P5P, and that is a very important B vitamin that actually helps break down and modulate a lot of different neurotransmitters. And then N-acetyltyrosine, since her tyrosine levels were low, that's the best one to use for absorption. Mucuna prunes, that helps build dopamine. Green tea extract, which is really great as a driver, that can also help with dopamine levels as well as serotonin. So this is a great one that I like using all the time. As long as these are all low, I will implement this. Obviously, D-L-phenylalanine, because that one needs to be addressed clearly. L-theanine, because it still can help even with low dopamine and serotonin levels. It also can bring those levels up, along with doing a full B complex. And then because she also had low serotonin, I add L-tryptophan, which is a precursor to serotonin. It's actually a precursor to 5-HTP. Then it gets break down 5-HTP. Then it also builds serotonin levels. And then because she had low glycine levels, that also impacts a lot with mood as well, we added glycine on top of that. Okay. So one other thing is, of course, I wanted to just to make sure with her low energy, because that impacts focus a lot, is okay, let's look at her cortisol. And sure enough, her cortisol levels were also low morning and afternoon. Early evening, they weren't as bad. So what we need to do here is just add also adrenal desiccated first thing in the morning and then mid-afternoon. And this really made a big difference with her energy and just her depression. She didn't have very many depressive symptoms. She was able to get back to work as well as be more focused and motivated and driven on top of that because we changed those things. Now, one other thing about the hormone is also her DHE levels were low. All her other hormones were fine, but the important reason why it's look at DHEA is because it does help build estradiol as well as testosterone. So if these are low in the long term, and she's kind of younger because she was in her just upper 20s, and if this becomes an issue when she gets in her 30s and 40s, it's going to definitely impact having low estrogen and possibly testosterone levels. So it's important to use this as preventative. So I added something like DHEA, 25 milligrams, to be able to help with that. So by just implementing all these things, she really like it turned her life around where she didn't feel depressed. She also was more motivated and focused. She was able to have the better energy and just have that quality of life, all because we were able to identify really what the root cause is. And this is really how you identify what are the best supplements for you specifically that are going to help eliminate your ADHD symptoms. So, I mean, if you are looking to really find out this information for yourself, to really understand what is the root cause of all these issues, and you would like to have my help to really understand what's going on, it does require further investigation. So it's best to like jump on a call with me and book an appointment where I can actually create an action plan for you and actually identify, after looking at your medical history and talking to you, to really identify what lab testing would be the best to do and what kind of action plan to put together so that we can really tackle your ADHD symptoms. Now, most people like from my backgrounds, like, going to medical school is expensive. And that's what I had to do to figure this all out. And it spent over $500,000 just doing that stuff, but you don't need to. I already did the heavy lifting for you to figuring this out. And most people don't realize also, when you have untreated ADHD, they found in research that we people with ADHD, when it's not treated correctly, will spend wasted money and time of over $1 million in our lifetime if we don't have our ADHD treated correctly. And this has to do with not being productive, efficient, losing jobs, missed opportunities, not finishing college, whatever it is. They found this just across the board. I certainly don't want that to happen to you. So what I'm offering is basically to book that consultation with me. It's a 45-minute to an hour consultation. It's $750 value just for that alone. And then the in-depth questionnaire that I have you fill out before, so I understand what challenges that you're having, and as well as knowing how to put an action plan together. That's $197 value for a focused mindset questionnaire assessment. And then I do provide, if you book today, also our ADHD health course. That's $297 value. So the whole value price is $1,244, but you don't need to pay that. I'm actually, all you got to do is it's just $197. It's real simple. You just click on the link in the description below. Once you've clicked there, it will take you to this page. You'll book it, you purchase, and then you pick a time and a date. And I have morning, afternoon, late afternoon, evening, depending on your time zone, but all available there. And then once you do that, you'll put in your info, and then you will come to this landing page. And it's important that you make sure to check your email to confirm your appointment, as well as check your email for getting access to the Practice Better client portal. And this is how you actually fill out the client questionnaire. It's an email to activate your account, as well as upload. If you have any previous labs in the last year of just standard labs that you've gotten from your doctors, definitely you can upload those to me so I can look at those beforehand, if that's going to be helpful for our appointment together. And then make sure to just block out 45 minutes to an hour, because sometimes we might go an hour if you have additional questions that you need answered. Just make sure to block that out, show up on time. And then, yeah. So, I mean, if you really are looking for a way to really help with your ADHD and want my help to really create an action plan for you so that you could finally use more of a natural way to really treating your ADHD symptoms and eliminating them for you, then go ahead and click that link in the description below, why that offer is still available. Thank you guys so much for attending, and I will see you guys in the next live stream. Thanks. Bye.